Hey everyone, guess what? Apple Intelligence is finally here and developers can now try it out. We've got some early impressions of what it's like to use these new features, and we're excited to share them with you. So stay tuned for the Macworld Podcast where we dive into all the details. Welcome to the Macworld Podcast. I'm Roman Loyola here with Jason Cross.
Good morning.
And Michael Simon.
Hello, sir.
Apple has released a limited set of Apple Intelligence features in a 0.1 beta released of iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia to developers. This is separate from the first beta that lacks the AI features. It's a little confusing now, especially because I had to set up a dual boot system now so I could have. Because one beta doesn't have the features the other does.
Even, right.
Yeah.
It's not like 18.1 includes everything in 18. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, it did at the time it was released, but they've since updated the 18 beta and made a couple of tweaks, and the 18.1 beta hasn't updated.
Right.
So they've never done this. They never start the .1 beta before the thing is out, and then they start .2 beta after .1 is out. They I can't remember them ever having done this, but apparently all these features were not going to be ready for the main release as planned. They're going to be in .1, and they need to start testing them with developers and stuff. So they pushed out this, and it's only a developer beta, right? There's no public beta for any of them.
Not yet.
Yeah. 0.1, yeah.
Yeah.
And on the iPhone and iPad, it's only on M series iPads and iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. You can't get it only on the devices that Apple Intelligence is going to run on is the only thing this is available for. So M series Max and stuff, and only US English, which they said from the very beginning, Apple Intelligence will only be in US English at first and hit other languages next year. So, if you're in another region, you can
there's a
change
workaround there. Right. You can change your language
to US English, and then it will let you download it.
But not in the EU. That is still restricted.
Right.
I believe.
That works. It works in the UK and other places.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all very sketchy right now as to what.
Yeah, it's all very
beta.
beta-y.
This is going to roll out.
It's also buggier if you are running these betas and you're like, should I run the iOS 18 beta? Is it all right? Is it not too buggy to use? It's in a pretty decent spot right now in terms of being buggy. They're still working on some features, some polish and stuff like that, but it doesn't the 18.1 beta. I've had a few crashes. I've had a few wonky bits here and there. It's not as clean.
Yeah. I mean, and we're about 5 weeks out now from the first, general here you can install it iOS 18 release. The Apple Intelligence stuff is coming probably based on what I see and based on what Jason's told me. Yeah, probably not till October.
Yep. And then there should be one more release in December.
Yeah.
Or not December, November, December.
Maybe December.
Basically, Apple has changed up the timetable for these things. They're releasing some of these features with 18.1/15.1. And then some other features before the end of the year that'll be 18.2, 18.3, or 15.2, 15.3. And that includes things like the generative image generation. So cleanup in photos, where you just remove background objects with a tap. The Image Playground app, Genmoji, any of the image generation stuff. None of that is in
none
here.
of that's in there right now, right?
And it's not expected to be before release. It's expected to be in the next .2.3, something like that. It's before the end of the year. And then there's stuff coming next year, which we've already talked about, the advanced series stuff is all next year.
So we've been playing around with some of these features, like Jason mentioned. Not all the features are available. Maybe we should just go through each particular category that we've done.
This is what's going to come when 18.1 drops. There's not expected to be additional new AI features that aren't in this beta until a later release. So you get The writing tools, not the ChatGPT integration ones, but the ones that take writing that you've done and proofread them or change them or
Mhm.
summarize them or something. Those are in the mail stuff. That is like the summaries of emails and the summaries in the notifications of the what an email is about. That's in, and also reordering the inbox to put priority items first, meaning like if an email mentions that something happens on a certain date or something like that, there's only a couple days left, it would pop that up to the top. Um, the same thing with messages, the summaries for messages, instead of showing the first line of the message in a notification or in the list, it shows the summary. Um, the new Siri interface, meaning it instead of the little ball at the bottom of the screen, it gets the full screen glow. And on a Mac, it gives you a little Siri window that you can actually move around anywhere you want, which is cool. Um, and it better understands like if you correct yourself or something like that, but not all the super fancy Siri stuff where it does actions within apps and all that stuff. Same thing with the summary, the writing tools like that create summaries of your writing and stuff. That there's also a summary in Safari. Like you open the reader view and you can hit summary and there'll be a button to say summarize this, and you get like a paragraph that summarizes the whole web page. Call recording with transcription is in the new reduce interruptions focus that uses AI to kind of go like, hey, is this notification important? And then it will let it through, and then otherwise it'll silence it. And then the photos stuff that isn't image generation, but is image understanding stuff. So like the using natural language to search, using natural language to create a memory, that's all in. Everything else is not in
Yeah. Uh, so I've played around with some of the writing tools in Pages on the Mac, and if you were listening to the cold open of the podcast,
yet.
I actually wrote a more succinct cold open, and then I wrote what I wrote and asked Pages to create a more casual, more friendly rewrite, and that's what it came up with. So it's
Were the
Okay.
exclamation points included?
yes. So the exclamation points were included. The "Hey everyone" was part of it. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
Uh, so I would have, I like to make it more succinct. Um, it's fine. It's not necessarily my voice, but
Right.
it's more friendly than what I wrote.
I'm sure
So
as it gets to know you, it'll use far fewer exclamation points.
um,
so
yeah, I don't think these are learning actually. Individual, like they don't
Mhm.
mhm.
learn your voice or whatever. Um, the writing tools are interesting in that they are writing editing tools. Like you have to write something, select the text,
Correct.
and then pop up the writing tools on whether it's your iPhone or your Mac in the context menu or whatever. And then it gives you options, make it more succinct, friendly, professional, make a bullet list if it's a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
You can have, if you have a whole like list of stuff, you can put it in a table automatically and stuff. I found they worked pretty well, but what I'm most impressed about is how good the interface is for it. Like it shows you the changes it made, especially if you hit proofread. Like it'll tell you, it doesn't just change it to do things. It like shows you like we added this comma here, we did this. So like the old blue squiggly underlines and stuff like that. So it's easy to see what it did. You can just revert, or you can make it do it again and give you a different option and stuff. So I find them. I don't know how often I'll use them because I'm a comfortable writer. I mean, we all write for a living,
Right.
right? So our bar for like what's a useful automatic editor is a little different than most people's. But I feel like it's pretty useful. I think on the iPhone it's kind of hard to get to.
Mhm.
like you got to select text, which already people aren't good at on the iPhone. And then you have, it's in that same menu, like where you would copy and paste. Like it's that little bar that pops up over it when you've selected text, but it's not the first thing. So you've got to hit the little arrow to scroll over and then hit writing tools and then the thing pops up. So they really need to make it more obvious.
A lot of people want to compare it to Grammarly. I think the thing is, like, Grammarly, I use Grammarly in our WordPress content system. So the thing I like about Grammarly is that it's there. You don't have to call up another window. It does it kind of. I don't know if it's in real time, but you don't have to go through another UI.
It's
You can
basically
see
like
it right
spell
there.
check. It's just running and
Right.
pops
Right.
stuff up. Yeah.
Whereas with this tool, you have to kind of, you have to go into another UI. You have to select the text. You have to open this window. You have to select proofread if you wanted to proofread. So yeah, I don't know how much I'll be using it in that case, at least within a web editor. Now, if I'm writing in Pages or something else, or like Mail, I'll probably be using it a little more.
I wonder if like the next step is to make it like a Safari extension or something
Yeah.
you can turn on and off and have it always running wherever you are. Because that's what Grammarly does. We all use it. It's like a spell check or grammar checker. There's different stages you can subscribe to for more advanced stuff, like what Apple Intelligence is doing with like rewriting and tone and stuff. But yeah, I agree with Roman. Is that I don't know how often I would use it if I have to go through all those steps to get it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly not that hard. And especially if for proofreading, you kind of want it to run all the time. But the rewriting stuff, you're going to select your text anyways,
Yeah,
But,
I agree.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like a layer deep and like it's in a context menu and then you hit this and then you hit that.
Yeah.
I think there's frameworks to attach into this, so it wouldn't surprise me if on the Mac you saw some utilities that did things like put it in the menu bar or something, right? It would, and it still just calls on Apple's thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some utilities. It does work anywhere you can copy and paste text. So it's not like it only works in Apple's apps or anything. Like pretty much any text window that lets you copy and paste text, you can use these tools. So that's pretty good. It's pretty it's going to work in all your web-based stuff. It's going to work in all kinds of apps without you having to, update your app or whatever.
Yeah. What other tools have you tried? So I tried that. Jason, do you have?
To me, by far, the most useful thing that is in this release is there's basically two things I love. One is I love the new Siri interface. It's not even that it does a lot more. It's not like smarter. That's all coming next year. But the glow and the way that it warps the screen like a ripple over the screen. Like if you've got text and stuff on the screen, it's so that it shows like it's looking. It's just neat. I just like it. It's nothing. It's just a change in interface, but it's cool and I like it. But the thing that I find genuinely useful all the time is that in both messages and mail, whether you're looking at your message list or your inbox or in notifications, it replaces that thing where it starts showing the first line of the message or the email with a summary of the email. That is completely useful. Because it's like a short one sentence, like it's 2 lines basically. It gives you there's a little arrow graphic to show that this is a summary, and then there's about 2 lines. And instead of being the first 12 words of the email or the text message, it's a summary of it. And the first 12 words of any email is useless. It does not let you know what this email is about. And if you've gotten several texts from somebody, that too doesn't let you know. It only does the summary if it's longer or if you've gotten multiple texts. If it's a short text, it just shows the text. But seeing that instantly lets me know, I should check this email or whether I should ignore it. Whereas I didn't really realize how often it was just like anytime I got an email, I just had to go look at them all because seeing the little preview doesn't, all it tells me is who it's from, really. The actual preview of the email isn't useful. And this makes it useful. And it works well. I've not seen it just bomb it, just be totally wrong in its little one sentence summary. So I think that's going to be a useful thing. I'm not even sure how many people are really going to kind of notice it. It just because it just kind of happens. All of a sudden, your notifications tell you what an email is about instead of the start of the email, and you probably don't even notice, but you just suddenly start paying attention to your notifications more. But it's great.
Now, that's interesting. Your point you bring out. It'd be funny to see if people realize who aren't as into it as we are, that's an AI feature. They might just think, "Oh, my summaries have gotten more useful." Maybe they may not even think that. They might just. It might just. Yeah. That's funny.
They may not. Yeah. It's just one of those sort of hidden things because it's automatic. It doesn't jump out at you and say, "This is AI." There's no interface.
Isn't that like kind of the goal of Apple Intelligence, to be just part of the experience?
Yeah, but it really makes it hard to market. A feature you already had and used just got better,
right?
And without telling you about it or why. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some like pop-up cards when people upgrade that tells you about this kind of stuff and everything. But it is going to be weird that will only happen on people with an iPhone 15 Pro or an iPhone 16 or later, right? So I can see people looking at their phone and their friend's phone going, how come my text messages aren't like that? How come my notifications for my emails aren't like that? And not understanding, oh, that's an Apple Intelligence feature. You don't have the phone that does that, whatever. But yeah, super useful.
Yeah, it feels like the summary, using Apple Intelligence for summarizing stuff is going to be extremely useful. Mm-hmm. I used the summarizations in Safari. I did find it kind of a hit and miss. The one thing where I found, in general, the summaries were good, but the one thing where I found the summaries didn't meet what I consider a certain standard is there's some news sites have kind of like I don't know if it's a compilation page, but when they have a breaking news story, they often have one page with several stories, and
it gets updated every however many minutes with new news. Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and the summaries didn't really work on those kind of pages.
Yeah, they probably have a hard time understanding this is a reverse chronological feed of updates. Right. New stuff. If new stuff contradicts old stuff, it's correct. The old stuff isn't, because it's like you said, it's new news coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a tendency to summarize the most recent thing, and not include any of the more archival older stuff.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a tricky thing to do because it ends up being a giant web page. And so, which is actually why you want to summarize it at the same time. It is a tricky thing to summarize. I wonder
how much of that has to do with the way web pages are formatted, because it's the summary, it's found on and is, to me, I think, clearly working on the reader mode, right? Like, so you hit reader and then there's a box to say summarize this. And sometimes reader mode does exactly like you said. It gets like the first element of a web page and then it bombs out because of the way the web page is structured or formatted, or the way it loads text or whatever, you have to scroll through and everything. So I wonder if that's part of the problem of why it sometimes fails, is because reader mode doesn't work well.
But on general articles, I found it worked fine. There's also, it didn't happen a lot, but sometimes there's like, in the summary, you get a general summary, but every once in a while you get that one topic or article where there's a certain point that should be included. It's somewhat specific, and maybe it should be included in a summary because it's kind of a standout issue. I can't even think of an example right now, but sometimes the summary misses that point. I don't know if that's good or bad or not. Maybe I'm over summarizing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So,
I feel the same way. I tried it on a couple of recipe pages because recipes are notorious for they want to make you scroll. So the recipe is four pages down after like this backstory that they make up about it's grandma's best biscuit recipe or whatever, you know. Um, and to me, the ideal summary would be just give me the recipe, just like bullet point, and then oven at 350, do this, do that, like. It doesn't summarize in that way. It'll give me a paragraph that says, this is a recipe for grandma's best biscuits and uh, um, that so and so, you know,
mhm,
God learned from the thing, which is not incorrect, but it's not useful.
right. Yeah.
There was a tool way back a couple of years ago that literally was for that. Like it was a script or an extension.
Yeah.
And it took out all the fluff and just gave you the recipe, and people freaked out. Like the whole recipe community, even the people who don't have the blogs, like they enjoy that stuff apparently.
Huh.
And so like they pulled it because they're like, all right, well we don't need this backlash. But yeah, I agree.
I'm fine with all the fluff. Just put it after the recipe.
Yeah, right. Or at least some of the better sites or the kinder sites give
Yeah.
you a link at the top and say, "Hey, click."
Right.
the
Yeah, they
recipe,
say jump
click it.
down to the
Right,
recipe,
right.
which
Allow
is
me to jump.
Yeah.
doesn't it feels like an admission of failure to have that exist.
Yeah.
But you bring up a point about how like the summarization is kind of useful, but that's an example of something where I think they need to surface these features better because especially on a Mac, like on an iPhone you have a limited space. On a Mac I've got a whole toolbar. I don't know why there isn't up there where you have your extensions, those little buttons, why there isn't a summary button that you hit and it just gives you a little pop-up of the summary. It keeps me on the web page and all that stuff.
Mhm.
All the pieces are there. It's just a UI thing that you need to do, right?
Yep.
But no, I got to go in reader mode and then I have to click
Yeah.
summary and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would love to be one mouse click on my toolbar, my Safari toolbar, or shoot, any browser. Like make extensions for any browser that gives me the summary in a pop-up, but keeps me on the page. I would use it all the time.
Yeah. I have a specific question. Like if you're reading an article, like say you're going to our site, so it reads it and then gives you a little capsule. What does it do when it's a paywall? Does it tell you like this is a paywall? Does it just do this the headline or what?
So you have to enter reader mode, right?
Okay.
And then it summarizes the reader mode page.
Just what's there. Okay. I get
What's
you.
on reader mode. So basically, if it's a paywall, that reader mode gives you, the first paragraph, because after that it says subscribe to read this or whatever, then your summary will be a summary of that paragraph.
Okay. Reader mode used to be a hack way back when to get around.
Oh yeah,
like
they all figured that out.
they all figured it out.
Yeah.
It was like the simplest hack of all time. You just click the little reader mode and you can read the article.
But reader mode does usually work if you're logged in and subscribed or whatever, that you can see the whole article. Then reader mode usually shows you the whole article and then it just summarizes. So it's not, it isn't directly reading and summarizing the web page. It's reader mode strips everything out to give you reader mode and then it summarizes that text. That's what it appears to be doing. It's my guess.
Any other features, Jason, that stood out to you?
Yeah,
on the iPhone?
I tried out the call recording. I have not had a lot of phone calls that I have any need to record since this came out just like a week. What is it? Not even 2 weeks ago. Not even. Anyway, I have not needed to record calls, but it worked well enough. I love that it basically makes a new note in Notes that is the recording and a transcript, and you can just play the voice memo back in Notes or read the transcript. It seemed to do a pretty good job. I love that this is built in. When you press the button, a little voice says "Call will be recorded" to everybody, and then it just goes. You could stop it at any time. So the interface is good. It works pretty well. I like all call transcript software, like every now and then it screws up. The formatting isn't perfect, but it'll certainly let you see what everyone said, easily enough. And you have the recording, the actual little recording. I can see that being an extremely useful feature in the future, especially like when you're calling customer service or any of these other things, and you just want to have like a record that like, no, I asked for this or something. Like it's making it easy to record calls is a huge deal. I feel bad for all of the call recording services out there, these apps, that because they're all subscription services. They're tricky because they kind of have to reroute your call in order to record it, because iOS kind of prohibited that from happening directly. So you'd have to like set up call forwarding to make them work and all this stuff. So they were a little bit of a headache to use. They were these subscription things, and they work pretty well, and they probably work better than Apple's, like Truecaller, I think is one or whatever. And I think they probably work better than the built-in one, but not enough to make you pay for it and jump through the hoops. like these guys just got Sherlocked bad, and it's going to be built in and everyone's going to love it. Again, kind of sucks that this is just for that. This is a quote Apple Intelligence feature where it happens in real time and is an iPhone 15 Pro and up feature, because there's nothing stopping an iPhone 12 or whatever from recording the call and then using AI to process it and do the transcript, not in real time, just like afterward. Just show me an interface that says call transcript will be available shortly, and then 5 or 10 minutes later it's processed the video, like whatever. Or just don't even do transcripts. Just make the transcript part the Apple Intelligence part, and just make all recording it for everybody. So
just
cool.
To reiterate, when you activate the feature, it makes an announcement that everybody on the phone call hears, right?
Yeah, second later, I think it literally says call will be recorded in this like very like it sounds like the phone tree menu voice that you hear whenever you call something and you're going through a phone tree. So you hear that voice, everybody hears that voice, and then it's recording.
Because there are legal issues in some state, right? There are legal issues in some state. In some states, every party on a call have to consent to being recorded.
Yep.
So I
think there's one party and 2 party states.
Yeah.
And these features roll out internationally, and who knows what the laws are in all these other countries and stuff. So they're just covering their bases. I did not try the reduce interruptions focus. Like I said it, but I have no idea if it works, because I have for years now methodically like managed down my notifications to the point where they don't bother me. So I don't get a lot of value out of focus modes in general. And I wouldn't know if a reduce interruptions focus is really working, because they're already reduced for me.
Kind of on a similar note, in the 15 beta 5, not the 15.1 beta of Sequoia, there's something called distraction control. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So maybe
it's not even really Apple Intelligent. Like it's just
it's not
a different focus mode. With
I'm like Jason. I don't use focus modes or anything.
Yeah, like that. I was just gonna say, like I like the general idea and concept of focus mode, but I'm always afraid that when I turn it on, I'm not gonna get what I want to get. So if this thing works, if the reduced notification thing works as advertised, and it does understand who's important in your life, what's important in your life, then great.
Yeah,
but
it's supposed to look at the actual context of the message or who the phone call's coming from or something.
And it says like maybe important or something like that. Like it gives you like a little banner that says, you might want to.
I think it's literally just it's just like the other focus modes where the notifications happen, they're just silent, right? They don't buzz or beep or whatever, but when you pull down your notification shade, it's there, and it just lets it through. So I don't think it actually says this might be important. It just lets it through if it might be. It does honor, even when you have that set, it honors your deliberate choices about like, when you're setting a focus mode, you can say always allow this app or always allow this person to,
Yep.
or whatever, or never allow this app or never allow this person. Those will override the focus mode. So it will always behave those things. I also tried the photos stuff, which is in there, which is just basically you can search just using like more natural language, like a picture of my cat, a Santa hat, or whatever. And it will find moments within videos. And I don't make the memories. I don't like the whole memory creation thing on photos. Like I don't need to see a slideshow of my photos and some little videos set to music. But I did test it out and it works great. Like just a simple prompt of what you want to see that isn't search-y. That's just your own language. Like, right. Like you could say like, if you went on vacation a few years ago with your family, you could just say like me and my daughter in New York, and it will be pictures of you and your daughter in New York, and it'll be set to a tune, and it finds the right ones and stuff like that to do those things, and gives you some options with the tunes. And you can go in the memory maker and edit it all you want. It also does a really good job of if you have left live photos on, so that every photo is a little piece of a video. It does a good job of kind of like incorporating those sometimes, sometimes boomeranging them or stuff like that, but just like giving you little tidbits of things or little pieces of videos you took as part of the thing. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's nice, but I don't think it's going to suddenly make me a memories maker.
Yeah, Google does that too. They send out things periodically that sums up.
Yeah, this is like that, except it's not just like automatic and periodic. You can just in your prompt just use normal human being language, and it delivers a pretty good result.
Yeah, I don't make those memory rolls, whatever their videos, either memory slideshows, videos. I'd rather have more control if I'm going to build something like that. And so I don't use that feature.
So as an example, we have a couple of cats. One of our cats' name is Bailey. And we've had him since a kitten. And my prompt was just Bailey through the years. And it gave me since he was a kitten till now, with all the transitions and stuff. It set it to stray cat strut by stray cats and stuff. And right, which is fine. Like it's it uses kind of your preferences from Apple Music to give you songs you would like as options and stuff. But then there's options and stuff. It was a fine video. It was good. It's the kind of thing that the memory maker wouldn't have done a great job of before with that kind of prompt. So it's better, but not my.
Any other features we want to bring up, or it wasn't a whole lot actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, but I think that's the biggest thing. So on social media, particularly the Siri thing, everyone's sharing like that. So Jason brought it up before. Visually, the new Siri is awesome. It's like Apple at its peak. Like we can do this, other phones can't, and we're going to. But as also Jason said, it's not any different. So people were like, wow, the new Siri just sucks just as bad as the old Siri. But it's like, it's just a visual thing. Like they didn't really bring the new Siri in yet. So perhaps they should have held off on the animation, because it does give the impression that it's all new and it's just a nicer
The part
entry.
The part that's new besides the animation is so Siri is taking any of the voice that you say, turning it into a text prompt, and then processing that kind of text prompt to understand. That's a new language model, and that's why it's just like ChatGPT and stuff like that. It's better about understanding if you correct yourself or if you've got ums or ahs or stuff like that. So it's better understanding you in that way. And it is really cool that now you can just bring up a keyboard and type to Siri. Like you're on a bus or something like that. You just are out in public. You don't want to be yelling at your phone to try to do it's not that's nice back and forth, like type text just freely. But it's actual the actual smarts of it haven't changed. Like it still does the same things it always did before. So it is better at understanding you, but it's not more capable yet.
Right.
The cool stuff next year is, and this might actually come this year. It's like fuzzy when this happens, but it's going to build this semantic model of you. Like, who are you? Where do you go a lot? Who are your family members? Like, all this stuff, using all the data on your phone, and it'll live on your phone. And then it will use that for context when you ask it stuff. That's when it's going to start to feel different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have to remind people, or maybe people do know, but this is a work in progress, and this is very early stages. So it'll improve over time. It'll be more robust over time. That might be a longer period than maybe you want it to be, but yeah, this is all this is new technology that Apple's developing,
and all this Apple Intelligence stuff is a phased rollout, which is like, I mean, it's always going to be, right? From the moment they announced it. They kind of, in the way Apple announces things, it's not always clear, blink and you'll miss it that they said coming later or whatever, but that's not typically how Apple works. Typically Apple is like, new iOS drops. It may not have all the features, but when a feature comes out, it's the feature. It's there. It's never like coming out in pieces. So it's going to be weird.
I stick by my analysis that Apple did not want to release Apple Intelligence.
No, this
is
going fast.
Yeah.
They are rushing to get this done.
This is not how they operate. This was like maybe a 2025 feature, maybe even 2026.
Yeah.
But their hand was absolutely forced by
all this generative AI stuff.
The whole entire tech landscape.
We forget.
AI, yeah.
I mean, we forget that. When WWDC landed this year, like ChatGPT had launched just like a year before, and it was it's a household name, and they're making South Park episodes. Like it's like fully, this all caught on way faster than Apple really kind of thought it would. And then all of a sudden they have a lot of engineering work to do. You can't push this stuff out to a billion phones without like a lot.
Yeah. Like other companies might. Maybe kind of let it do its thing in public. Apple's not going to do that, and so they still have a lot of work. They have, conservatively 8 weeks to get this thing moving, and there's a lot to do. Apple is not going to just let something go out there that could possibly embarrass them. They're not going to do it.
Yeah. It's one thing for ChatGPT or Midjourney or something like that to have an image generation tool that accidentally produces black Nazis.
Right.
To use a real world example that happened.
No, it did. It actually happened. That was Gemini that did that.
That was Gemini, actually.
Yeah.
But that's in companies pushing out free services that are move fast, break things, and they're services you have to kind of opt into. You have to go choose to do them, right?
Yep.
That wasn't pushed out to a billion phones.
Right.
But if that happens to Apple, like that's front page news.
Yeah.
From
for like
general, for not just from the tech press, but from general media, right?
That's on the cover of like local newspapers that are looking for a quirky thing to put above the fold. Yeah.
That's going to move a stock price kind of news. Sure. So they've got to be super, super careful.
Yeah.
And so far, there, like you said, Roman, there's not a lot of like generating stuff out of whole cloth in there yet. It's editing stuff that exists, but I haven't seen anything jump out at me and go like, oh wow, that's problematic. Like there's never been anything like that.
Yeah.
Not from what I've seen so far.
Yep.
Well, for more information about Apple Intelligence, we've got a bunch of articles on our website at macworld.com. We've also got information on how to install the betas if you're interested, if you want to take that step. Again, they are developer beta, so you have to sign up for the developer account thing. It's free, right?
It works with a works with the free developer account. You only need to pay now if you want to publish apps to the App Store.
Yeah.
And it also requires hardware and language that will be able to run this. So,
Right.
especially on iPhone, where it's much more common that people have an M series iPad or especially an M series Mac, but unless you have a 15 Pro, it's not available for your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
This concludes episode 896 of the Macworld Podcast. We would like to express our gratitude to Jason Cross and Michael Simon for their contributions. We appreciate your continued support and encourage you to subscribe to the podcast through the podcast app, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. Should you have any comments or questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us via email at podcast@macworld.com or through the following channels: X @Macworld, Threads @Macworld HQ, Macworld Facebook page. We look forward to discussing the latest developments in the world of Apple with you in the next episode of the Macworld Podcast.